So the Western idea of a saint is somebody that's like an expression of God, that's just like this glowing example in everything. Everybody they touch, they're really happy, they get this glowing aura and things like that. But the Eastern idea of a saint, a Buddha, is somebody that has seen the nature of this, but is not less messy because of it. That's way more realistic because life is still happening. The deeper you get, the more you understand that any mental framework you would hold would be your limitation. So knowledge is not something that works. It's something that hinders, actually. Take away knowledge and you're left with what is, with reality without a filter. Any sort of limiting belief is actually a sort of knowledge, we could say. I'm not saying the practical knowledge of driving a car or things like that are not relevant, they are. But it's just in the spiritual pursuit, knowledge is actually something that can hinder us. Because it's not about the answer to your questions, it's about sort of the questions and the answers both exhausting themselves to understand I don't need to ask the question because it's just what is. And then on the experiential level, we want to get away from our feelings. We want to get away from our busy mind. We want to get away from all these things. And we want to improve that situation. And of course, if you start to accept and be with that situation, you start to understand that, wow, it can come to a certain level of rest because I'm no longer mentally projecting all those expectations that I need to be like this, I need to be like that. I'm no longer holding on to all these ways of being. And through that, you get freedom of that. You get more insight, you get more freedom. But it's actually freedom from needing things to be different than how they already are. It's, in a way, also, just like with knowledge, it's freedom from answering the question. Now, on the inner experiential way, it's freedom from needing it to be a certain way, making it fit a box. So the deeper you get, the more you understand that there's nothing to understand. There's just what is. And it's expressing itself different in every moment. And if we resist it, we can suffer, potentially, extra. Not saying that the first thing that comes up is suffering. It might still be suffering. Something can happen externally that makes us suffer. Or something internally can make us suffer. But if we resist that, we create more suffering. That's a given. So at some point, we can stop resisting, let's say, the first dart, right? That which arises. And the second dart, the suffering we create on top of that, is no longer created. And that's beautiful. That doesn't mean that your experience is all positive right now. So we can't have freedom from life with only positive emotions and only a sort of everything works out in the end, right? But we just get what we get. But there's way more freedom with that if we can just let that be exactly as it is. But it is in a way for the ego or for the thing that got into this. It's seen through because there is no nirvana in the end that's sort of separate from samsara. There's no heaven that's separate from earth. No, there's just this expression of earth which we can let be unfiltered. And that's way more heaven than if you try to micromanage that earth into a sort of hell. But there's no separate place where you could say, I'm happy always, or I never suffer. That's just not there. That's just not available. Or it's a pill we haven't invented yet, right? But that's just not, in my experience with Buddhism and these higher states, and with a lot of meditation practice and a lot of awakening shifts and things like that, that's not what I see. So trying to land somewhere and say, I've made it, it's done, right? That doesn't make sense. The journey sort of exhausts itself at some point where you realize this is just what is. And that's actually really beautiful. So if you're watching this and you'd love some support in your own beautiful awakening journey, and you feel like you want to progress in a way that's more stable, faster, and more direct, and you want me to give you a second opinion on what you're doing, then schedule a free call below in the description, and I'd love to see you there. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.